Joining me now is former DeKalb County DA Gwen Keyes. Gwen, it's great to see you tonight. Fortune has you in New York, so we can dig into this explosive development, which seems meaningfully more perilous for Donald Trump than even maybe Sidney Powell or other flipped co-defendants, because he's implicated in the same plot that Chesebro is.
He is. And if you look at the indictment, the former president, Mr. Giuliani, Mr. Eastman are all listed in this count. This is count 15 of the original indictment. If you notice with Ms. Powell, they created a separate accusation to present misdemeanors. This is a felony. It's in the original document, and it has several people named in the count as co-conspirators.
And the fact that, you know, when you hear what I heard Chesebro was pleading out, it was, my thoughts immediately turned to Giuliani, Eastman, and Trump, which is maybe why outside the court today, Chesebro's lawyer said he didn't snitch against anyone. He went in there, he accepted responsibility, almost telegraphing to potential other co-defendants, I didn't snitch. And yet he's going to be asked to snitch, isn't he?
Well, one of the conditions of this plea is that he made a proffer to the district attorney, and he has to testify against the other co-defendants. So we'll see what that testimony is. But certainly we've seen DA Willis. She's very smart. She's very strategic. I cannot imagine she has allowed him not to provide incriminating evidence against other defendants.
If you're Rudy Giuliani's lawyer right now, Rudy Giuliani, who has a hard time keeping lawyers, who is in financially dire straits, what would your advice to, I mean, is it a foregone conclusion that he's going to be under immense pressure to plead out himself?
I think you're going to start to see other defendants start to fall. Remember the progression here. Both Ms. Powell and Mr. Chesebro, they had motions in front of the court. Those motions did not go their way. And then you see within 5 or so days that they've made the decision that they don't want to risk going to trial and possibly have a felony conviction with jail time. I think you're going to see that with Mr. Giuliani and several of the other defendants as well, as their motions start to get decided.
It is a big win for Fani Willis, as you say, because it is a sort of, well, she has two very important witnesses, but she also doesn't have to lay out her case as she was going to have to, right? If the Chesebro and Powell cases went to trial as they were supposed to imminently, she would have had to reveal a lot of evidence, and now she gets to keep that under the hood, as it were.
Not only does she get to keep it under the hood, but now she has 2 more witness statements that she didn't have at the beginning of this week. So, again, she's building a stronger and stronger case against all of the 16 defendants that remain, and we'll see what happens next.
How does this dovetail, and I was asking this question yesterday with Sidney, vis-a-vis the Sidney Powell plea agreement, how does this dovetail with Jack Smith's case? Because the fake electors plot figure, there's so much cross-pollination in these 2 criminal indictments.
There is. And if you remember with Jack Smith's case, I believe Ms. Powell was co-conspirator number 3. Mr. Chesebro was unindicted co-conspirator number 5. If you look at both of their pleas, they were warned that pleading to this particular state court indictment might have other implications in the federal case. And so I think we're all waiting to see, were these part of a global deal for either defendant? Have there been discussions with Mr. Smith? We don't know at this point.
What would be the telltale signs of a global deal if there was one?
Well, I think you would see maybe commitments to testify in the federal case, something along those lines where there's a more direct tie. And I'm just not aware of that so far.